Good afternoon. It is Friday, April 26th, 2024. Jesus is continuing to instruct the disciples about the end times. Now, he does not specify a date or even mention any kind of scheduling or timing at all, but he gives descriptions of what those end times will be like. In Mark chapter 13, verses 12 to 20, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation, second edition, it says, "A brother will betray his brother to death. A father will betray his own child, and children will rebel against their parents and cause them to be killed. And everyone will hate you because you are my followers. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. The day is coming when you will see the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing where he should not be." Reader, pay attention. "Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. A person out on the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return, even to get a coat. How terrible it will be for pregnant women and for nursing mothers in those days. And pray that your flight will not be in winter, for there will be greater anguish in those days than at any time since God created the world. And it will never be so great again. In fact, unless the Lord shortens that time of calamity, not a single person will survive. But for the sake of his chosen ones, he has shortened those days." Jesus describes a tremendous destruction of the family. Brothers betraying each other's, fathers abandoning and betraying their children, children being rebellious. Those are not headlines. That's Jesus describing the signs of the times for the final times. Hatred for Christ's followers is another sign of the times. But if we endure, we shall see salvation. So hang in there. Then this translation uses the phrase, "the sacrilegious object that causes desecration," instead of the phrase that the other translation uses, "the abomination of desolation." He says, when you see that, whatever it is, whatever nasty thing that just desecrates the whole area of Jerusalem and Judea, when you see that, he suggests it's time to flee Judea. Don't stop to take anything. Don't grab a meal. Don't grab a coat. Just leave. A time of great anguish. In fact, he says greater than any other time of anguish in all of history. It's terrible. He does not describe these things in order to increase our fear and anxiety. Although often people have used these scriptures to try and get us anxious and try and get us fearful and try and get us worried. That's not Jesus' purpose. But he wants us to understand that God has everything under control. That God saw what was going to happen and actually worked to give his disciples the tools they needed in order to deal with those times. He wants us to understand God has it under control. You know, it will look very bad to us. In fact, it may be very, very bad. But God is in control. Describes a time where there's tremendous anguish and fear, but God is in control. Describes a time where the families have broken down and we no longer have the support structure that God intended us to have from the beginning of the world. But God is still in control. A time when there's no safe haven for believers. But God has it under control. Thank God that he thought you worthy to live in these times, and that he trusted that his equipping of you would be adequate for you to rise to the occasion to meet the difficulties of the time in which we live. May God bless you.